You're listening to High Frequency Healing on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that explores the awakening of superpowers through higher dimensional healing.
Hello, this is AngelaMaría, one of the Superpower Up hosts, and you are listening to High Frequency Healing Show. The only difference between where you are to where you want to be is the actions you take here and now to heal your life. I want to welcome Kasey and Brad Wallis to my show. We will be talking about access consciousness as a way of healing. Kasey and Brad are renowned speakers, global workshop leaders, and facilitators of consciousness and why we are here. Kasey and Brad have been interviewed on over 400 media outlets. They have been featured guests on TV such as CNN, Fox News, NBC, and ABC, as well as on radio, telesummits, podcast, and as key speakers at consciousness expos. They and the energy known as Julius that comes through teach and guide assist people to heal themselves. Please join me to welcome Kasey and Brad Wallis. Hi, guys.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's start this conversation asking you, what are your healing superpowers?
We teach about raising your consciousness through the frequency of thought. So what's extraordinary about all human beings is their ability to access their inner embodiments of that power. It's extraordinary. All of us have it. All of us have it. It's not a question of individual superpowers. It's really a question of unleashing all of our superpowers collectively. And you are correct, through the high consciousness approach of accessing how empowered we are, both as physical beings and spiritual beings, all resolution in our lives, both through our embodiments as well as our experiences, find their resolve. It's extraordinary.
That's awesome. And I completely agree. When I was born as a regular, normal, little, beautiful girl. And when I grew up, I started realizing, wow, I am an empath. I have the ability to connect to my inner self, to talk to him, to have a relationship with my spirit guides, with all of those beings out there that are here guiding us. And I thought that you really require something really wonderful, something out of this world. And I just really appreciate, Kasey, what you said. Everybody has a superpower, and we just need to unleash all those superpowers and just trust and be open to empower those superpowers. Thank you so much for that. And before we go deeper in our topic, I would like that each of you just tell us a little bit about a memorable life lesson that is useful for you today in all of this path of consciousness.
The life lessons of just what we're talking about is when things go wrong in your life, when tragedy hits, several occurrences of tragedy throughout life, whether it be losing a loved one, finding yourself with an illness or an injury, or perhaps in extreme financial disarray, and working your way back yourself in your intentions and your knowings. That changes you. It changes the pathway of your life. It shows you that you are the creator of your experience, and you do it through love and allowing and high frequency access. You never do it through anger. You never do it through depression, and you never do it through stress. It always has to come through the high energy of love. And I believe that you, myself, Brad, of course, and your listeners included, have had all of those experiences. The game is to keep it consistent, to keep it high, to keep it accessible, and expandable for all of us so that we can spread that information, raise the frequency continuum of this whole realm, and all of those resistances melt away. For Brad, of course, it was your brain injury, right?
Yeah.
And how that worked for you?
Well, the brain injury, a lot of people that have brain injuries almost feel as if they're done. They can't go anymore. And through our programming, we've learned how to reprogram our thought and reuse the brain in another way, and teach people how to think differently and to activate dormant parts of the brain, which help people in no matter what they're doing.
Exactly those words that you use. And I'm going to take a little bit of each of you. Love and gratitude as those keys that we need to use when we are going through hard times. But also when Brad was saying, think differently. Activate that dormant parts in your brain. That's the key when you really want to heal your life. And I'm not saying just about physically. Brad was sharing with us that he had a brain injury, but it's also about our emotions, difficult times, as Kasey said before, when somebody dies, when we feel depressed, lonely, lost. Those are important keys. And that's what we're going to talk later on. But now, where can people go to find out more about you two?
They can go to our website, which is expandwithjulius.com. That's EXPAND with Julius, JULIUS.com. And there's a whole array of programming. They can get lost in the website.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Okay, let's pretend that wasn't said. So we've been talking with Kasey and Brad Wallis about access consciousness as a way of healing. When we come back from this short break, we're going to talk more about their healing superpowers. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
We're back. You are listening to High Frequency Healing. Today, we are talking with Kasey and Brad Wallis about access consciousness as a way of healing. When I was listening to you, I would say that brain injury was like the burning bush moment that made your heart desire changing your path in life. Whatever you were doing before, these kind of experiences change and make a lot of transformations out there. How do you go through that change in your life?
Well, because of my brain injury, it actually, because of the medication that they had prescribed to me, I actually overdosed on that medicine, and I left this realm of existence and was gone for 8 hours and had a near-death experience, all because of the brain injury. And while I was gone, the group of energy beings that I got the opportunity to visit with, they taught me how to reactivate the dormant parts of my brain. And they asked me if I wanted to come back and teach human beings how to do things here on this realm. And I, of course, agreed, but only if they would come with me, because there's no way anybody was ever going to believe my story. And so for the last 10 years, this is what Kasey and I have been doing, is teaching people about the human experience and what being human is really all about.
Yeah, so the injury that most people would interpret as a real downstep in your life and a real downfall and tragedy in your life ended up really unleashing this collaboration and this relationship that we have with Julius. I channel Julius, and it did absolutely change our lives, actually thrust us in the direction of actively pursuing consciousness, actively teaching consciousness, expanding consciousness. And yes, it is an extraordinary shift from our lives before, but one that we embrace. Either we're crazy enough to do it or we're brave enough to do it. We haven't figured out which one yet.
That is crazy. And let me ask you, were you in this spiritual consciousness path before? Like you just said, you were channeling Julius, and then Brad said that he was just listening to his guides and masters and divine beings up there. Did you experience something like that before that brain injury?
Thanks for asking that question. So I had intuitive gifts as a child, like you. I saw things, heard things, had my dabblings in a little bit of intuitiveness, but I was very busy in my life, like everybody else is. I was married, had children, I had my own business, and it really wasn't anything I spent a lot of time actively embracing, honoring, and pursuing. It was just things that would pop up periodically. I was not raised in a household with a religion, and I believe that helped keep that doorway open for me. Brad was embedded in a very strong religion, so his shift was massive after the brain injury.
It was, when I left this plane of existence, what I got to experience, I certainly had to rethink everything that I had been taught from a little child, because it was not anything that was remotely even close to what I was being taught through a religious practice. And so that came to a quick halt in my life. And actually my family to this day still has a hard time with that. And we have very little communication because I have left the religion, and what Kasey and I do kind of scares the hell out of them.
Of course. And that would be a topic for another show, because I went through the same thing. It's like, it's something big. It's just getting out of everybody else's comfort zone. And even you are the one taking a different action, they feel that you are moving them even when you are not even doing anything.
Right.
That scares them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And with love and appreciation and honor for those people deeply embedded in religions and live deeply embedded in fear, I do believe they honestly on a level are concerned for your eternal soul, because that's what they've been taught, and they do love you. Okay. And, they don't want to lose you to hell and damnation and whatever they've been taught. And so with love to them, we have an understanding about them. We know the agenda can get much more fear-based from there. But, we just try to deal with it with love and compassion and ensure them that our souls are safe, that the journeys are many. Ours is just faster than theirs. No, we don't say that. But then we kind of go neener, neener, neener. No, we don't say that. No. But, eventually it works itself out. That this phenomenon of me channeling this group Julius gets a little crazy. But I learned long ago, I cannot let the limited judgment of other people stop our dreams, stop our joy. Mostly the people who listen to these programmings, like you and your beautiful audience, they embrace these phenomenons. They know what it feels like to know their truth, to be moving through that joy. And that's really the arena that we hang in. So it works itself out. It's not like we go out and get plummeted, by the Bible thumping religious people on a daily basis. We hang with our group just like you do. Mm-hmm. And so we encourage your listeners also, you got to find your tribe. You've got to find your supporters. You've got to be in an energy of reassurance so that you can have the courage to follow your dreams, to unleash your empowerment. Because believe us, it can be a very lonely path if you remain in all of your limited energy, including the limited energy of some of the company that you keep. So as we do our programming and our teachings, our lectures and our workshops, part of that process is people letting go of their fears of changing a good portion of their lives to support how expanded they truly are desiring to become.
Kelly, thank you so much for saying those words of love and compassion, because I do believe that we choose to live the kind of existence we are creating right now. And some people need to go through different paths, religion, atheism, whatever. And we are just here from where we are as spiritual beings, as this work that we do every day to embody the divinity we are, from a place of love and compassion and understanding that each person is where they need to be. And if they are looking for something else, there you go. Brad, Kasey, and many other people nowadays that are in this beautiful path of connecting to that divinity we already are. So thank you for those words. How is to access consciousness as a way of healing?
We encourage everybody to get out of their average way of thinking. It sounds like a very, kind of profound statement, but there are active ways to do that. Human beings get very patterned in the way they think. In fact, they regurgitate the same thoughts through their day over and over and over again, both on a subconscious level and a conscious level, and it keeps their lives the same.
Well, the ironic part is, talking about the brain, humans only use 3% of their brain. Mm-hmm. And it's not just everyone has scattered spots within the brain that they're using. It's the same 3% mm-hmm. in everybody's brain. Mm-hmm. So there's all these parts of the brain that we're not using, and it's because we all think the same.
Well, we get forced thought pushed upon us. It's the low frequency thoughts of fear and competition, judgment, of course, prejudice, of course, violence and anger and stress. And that keeps you literally and figuratively closed-minded. So that keeps you in a low state of consciousness. To actively pursue a higher state of consciousness, you need to practice patterns of thinking differently, dropping the fear, dropping the judgment. And that can take lifetimes for people to learn how to do. But once you start actively pursuing these higher possibilities, the great thing is you see changes in your life. You don't have to wait until you are a fully enlightened being, which can just seem just way too far away for you, before you will reap the rewards of your intention. It starts immediately. And so our students who come from trauma and tragedy and abuse and neglect and all kinds of pain and suffering will immediately start to feel a difference in their own embodiments and in their own lives within just a few courses and classes of ours, if they take the work and they apply it in their daily lives. And then they grow.
Right.
And we grow and we grow and we grow, and we have fantastical conversations that almost hurt your brain to try to understand. And it's raising that frequency, and crazy information starts to come through to you.
I do believe that when you change your actions, you shift your energy. And that is exactly what you just described, Kasey. It's just being very human beings, dropping the fear, the judgment, dropping that feeling of, I can't do it. This is so hard. This is not for me. I don't deserve it. It's just what really guides and enlightens that part of you that is so empowered and is just a divinity in this human body. I know that Julius is this this amazing thing because I was reading and I couldn't even imagine. And it's kind of a way to empower ourselves to start our healing path. Right. Could you talk a little bit more about Julius?
Yes, thank you for asking. So Julius is a benevolent, very high frequency, highlight council of beings. These beings have been human.
They have been human.
Here on this realm. They've mastered this realm. They've risen above judgment and were able to ascend their physical embodiments off of this realm, finally, once reaching a state of consciousness, and having the opportunity to interact with them and to facilitate communications with them is extraordinary. Because they have been human, the communications are very applicable to our lives, unlike some communications with ethereal beings, which are always very loving and always encouraging. Julius gives you tangible, workable tools for our day in and day lives on how to get crazy in our abilities to empower ourselves. Everything from money to business to relationships to your embodiment to everything spiritual and in soul alignment, how to access your intuitive gifts, how to heal, how to compose a reality and existence of your dreams, how to walk on the pathway of wholeness and love, everything applicable to you, and apply it and dig it out of you. The thing about Julius is a very powerful force. They are a wonderful coach that seems to really know who you are despite your own ignorance about who you are.
They're fabulous at giving support along the whole way.
Yeah. And they don't want you. What I mean by that is a lot of leaders try to capture you into a theory or a teaching and hold you bound.
As a student.
Yeah, as a student within the circumference of that. Julius doesn't need us. They need all of us to raise our consciousness and become the all, because that expands them and all of us. So it really is a different type of experience of what we call empowering and allowing. Julius will never tell you you're wrong. They will at sometimes point out there are limitations to the way you think, and let's see if we can expand out of your limitations. So it's a phenomenon that's taking place. And people are really embracing it because they're really tired of being imprisoned by teachers and by theorists and by what we want to call mudras, mantras, rituals, and things like that. And they're really wanting that authentic self-empowerment. And that's where Julius comes in. So we're very honored to be able to bring this power forth for everybody.
This is fascinating. I am here like, whoa. But I would like to understand, how did Julius appear in your life? One day you were sleeping, you were channeling, and what happened? How did you contact this powerful force?
Thank you. So, Brad.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was in a car accident. And during the car accident, I suffered a brain injury. And the medication that they gave me, I overdosed on that medication and left this plane of existence for 8 hours in human time. And while I was gone, I had the opportunity to visit with them and talk with them. And they taught me things that were, as someone could say, out of this world.
So really, Brad met them during his near-death experience, or we should say re-engaged with them. Yes.
And I asked them to come back with me because nobody was ever going to believe what I had just experienced. And so when I woke up in the hospital, Kasey was at the hospital because her daughter used to work for me in my construction business. And Kasey was there, and as she walked into the room, she immediately started channeling Julius back to me and letting me know that what I had just experienced was not a dream, that it was real, And it, of course, changed our lives from that moment on.
Yeah. So we know from our experience with Julius that we have been with them before in other lives. They've been with Brad, very close to Brad's heart, this whole life as a child. They watched over him. He can remember seeing images of warriors standing in his doorway as a child. He can remember as a young child like you communicating with these guides and these little beings that everybody else, of course, throws off as your imaginative friends, or, that's just a daydreaming process. And they went a little dormant in Brad's life once he got embedded in, unfortunately, the disconnected reality of the realm. And they've been knocking on his door for a while. Took a slam over the head to get his attention.
Hey, Brad, we're here waiting for you. Come on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's putting it in.
And that's Julius. So for your listeners, if they're curious, they can go to our website, expandwithjulius.com. They can go to Facebook. They can go to YouTube and catch expandwithjulius.com, and you can see all kinds of videos of me channeling Julius. You can get a feel for that energy and a feel for their message. And then if you desire to pursue it further, that's when you can go back to the website and maybe get in on a few courses, a few classes. And if you're really intentional on your journey, you come out here to our facility and embark on an R-Factoring healing workshop, which is really extraordinary hands-on work with Julius.
Yeah, and that's where I want to go. But before, let me ask you this. Anybody can really channel Julius, or they just choose, for saying in some way, who's ready for the message? And I do believe who's ready to embrace that high energy frequency, because it shouldn't be like just being here in this human world. You need to embrace this certain energy in a really high frequency. Am I wrong?
Julius is definitively attached to Brad. They shared several lives together. Most recent life together was 1,500 years ago. Brad was Julius's teacher in that life and facilitated him. He was a male physical embodiment, obviously, at that time, and facilitated him on his ascension process. So they have the very, very, very intimate connection. Having said that, they do exist on what we refer to as a 6-seal plane of consciousness, which is a very, very high consciousness state, along with countless other energy beings. And I do believe that all of us have an aspect of ourself in all stages and phases of consciousness. Julius will sometimes tell us that they're us. And we tell our students that. We are you. We are a high version of your state of knowing without limitation and without fear. And so it depends on your definition of what you're accessing. Is it all the same energy? Is it source in all of its variations? Yes. Does it take on some individualized types of personalities? Yes, because those are what souls are. So whatever it is, grab it, reach for it, be open to it. If you need help, we'll help you with that. If you love hearing other people's abilities to do it, do it. Use the inspiration to your advantage to know that you are correct. Everyone channels. We are all open channels to our own knowing. It's just a question of whether you're accepting that as a truth, whether you're allowing that as a truth, and rather you're really pursuing that action for yourself.
So, you were talking before about the R Factory. And using a unique technique that heals repeated negative patterns for people on a neurological level. Yeah. Could you please expand that idea for us?
Yes. We were informed last year. I got a very, very strong download from Julius. Brad, our students actually had been asking for an actual healing application from Julius, and Julius had put them off for a little while, but finally decided through Brad's prodding that it was time to bring an extraordinary experience for everybody. It runs along with the universal theory that everything physical has an energetic gridding system around it. Different levels of gridding, different layers of gridding, But even science will support this truth that there's a matrix of gridding systems for everything that holds matter. And since you are both a physical embodiment as well as a spiritual embodiment walking on this realm, your physicality imprint definitively influences or inspires your conscious journey. So through the pathways of being a human being, most human beings have an energetic gridding system they have developed around their body of extreme limitation and fear. These continual thoughts of stress and anxiety and worry and depression and sadness develop almost a layer of crustation on their gridding system that is nearly impossible for a singular human being to break through themselves. So they embark on a conscious journey and they hit points of success. They get a little bit better at manifesting. They get a little bit better at their relationships. They get a little bit better at healing their body, but they always seem to max themselves out and hit a ceiling, bounce back down, and just can't seem to get out of this stifling pattern for themselves. Well, it could very well be that your grid, energetic grid around you needs some help for clearing. Julius comes through me here in our workshops and floodgates your gridding system along with you to clear out those energy pathways. It's extraordinary. The students leave here with a whole new perspective embedded in their energy field, letting go of fear, letting go of limitation. We've had a 100% feedback rate from these students on how their lives have changed. Most of them feel it immediately when they leave the workshop, but we're getting months later, we're getting continual feedback on how their relationships have improved, how their job has improved, how their bodies are getting well, their cancers are cured, and they don't know exactly how and why. They're telling us that their studies of consciousness are clearer to them.
Yeah, they're starting to see things differently. They're starting to understand things differently. Mm-hmm. They're looking at everything that goes on in their life from a totally different perspective. Mm-hmm. And that is all because of the R Factoring program.
Yeah, it's a 3-day workshop. You come here to our facility. The first day you go through a very thorough evaluation process where we expose your innate seed fears that you're carrying around with you subconsciously. We show you how much you repeat those fears on a daily or hourly basis and exactly show you how this gridding system has become developed. We deal directly on the first day with those seed fears that issue out an embarkment on this workshop to start to clear your field. The first night is usually fairly exhausting for people. They rest very well here on our farm and our facility. And we begin the second day getting into threading your thoughts and your gridding system through your other lives, your past lives, your concurrent lives. And on the third day, we access the gridding empowered energy fields around you that affect your lives every day from the dimensions and the realms. And by the time you leave the workshop, you have learned techniques and ways of thoughts to continue this practice in your life. This is a level 1 workshop that we are currently working with. There is a level 2 that's coming in December that's going to facilitate this program even farther, even deeper. It's a progressive program and it is fantastic. You eat here, you sleep here, we get you out of your normal world and into an extraordinary possibility, and your superpowers are unleashed.
And I am sure, because I'm going to be one of them. I already went through your website. I was reading about it, but I'm sure that now with this perspective and all of this explanation, I have a better idea about Julius and all of this work that you do. So we are going back to check the website and learn more about all of this. And before people can go and just say, I want to take this workshop, it would be possible if you share with us 2 tips for anyone to start their healing process by uncreating, undoing those beliefs that limit us. I understand it's through Julius and they do all of this work. But if somebody says, hey, before I go, what could I do here and now to uncreate those beliefs?
You have to have an open-minded state. You have to know there's more. You have to get yourself geared up for possibility. You can't be ignorant. You can't be angry. You've got to start working on, I know that I'm not wrong. I just know that I've been limited and there's more. It's a mindset. It's an enthusiasm. And you wake up every day with this so that you have that adventurous, childlike energy to you. That brings the results. It invites the results in. You don't come here to the workshop with doubt. We don't want you if you're in doubt. You're going to poison everybody. Come knowing how magnificent you are. You are, okay? You are God in form. You have just forgotten. We're going to help remind you. It's spectacular. We want you arriving with the open arms. We're going to hug you. We're going to feed you. We're going to take care of you. You're going to make connections with people here that you will never forget. And the biggest one of those is you, your connection with yourself. And if you don't come to this facility, blessed be you on your journey. And you use those tools every moment of your life, and it will begin to create changes for you.
Fantastic. Let's remind listeners where they can go to find out more about you.
They can go to expandwithjulius.com, and in the website, there's a rotating banner at the top of the page, and it always has 5 to 7 different programs that we have going on at one time for the month. And then as you scroll down, there's over 400 courses that we have had throughout the 10-year running of Expand with Julius. And then there's videos
on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Under Expand with Julius.
Expand with Julius. There's I can't even begin to tell you everything.
Yeah, but the website will guide you. You're going to want to spend a little bit of time
on the website. The website is full. It's got a lot of information.
Yeah.
That's expandwithjulius.com.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kasey and Brad Wallis, for sharing your healing superpower and sharing the power of Julius with us.
Thank you.
And all of you, thank you for joining us. I am AngelaMaría. Conscious creation, change actions, shift energy to live heaven down here on earth. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.